So thank you. Thank you for having me. I have to thank Dara for recommending me to come here. I'm here because of her. You got to hear her yesterday. I talk about AI, but before I share with you what I talk about, I want to share with you who I am, my background. I've spent 30 years in technology. I've spent a lot of my time in management and technology consulting, really building strategies. But in addition to building companies and working in data, I also teach at Columbia University. I teach graduate students. I taught MBAs, focusing on building businesses. And I think it's such an important topic, and I tell my students that even though you are in an entrepreneurship class, it's about building a business. You can take those concepts and apply it anywhere, even if you work for an organization, a large organization. So what I'll talk to you today, and my goal would be to bring my experiences and my learning from my days in industry, doing consulting and strategy, but also sharing with you what I teach in the class at Columbia to the master's students. And now I teach at the medical school, Mailman School of Public Health, where I have, in my exec class, I have students from 40 to 60-year-old. These are, surgeons, established surgeons who are coming to the class because they want to learn about administration. So what I would say that anything which I would share with you, because you're in a functional area, you can really act as an entrepreneur. You can actually act as a leader within your group. And the group doesn't have to be large or small. All the principle I'll share with you today, you could really apply anywhere in your job and function. So what I did was, I built 3 companies. I exited by 3 companies, and I became a professor. I went to Columbia, and I started my journey as an entrepreneur in residence, and then became a professor. And the thought was, how can I communicate? I was writing, speaking. So I came upon writing this book, and I would highly encourage every one of you have a book in you. It's a great process and a great learning. It took me 4 years to write and then 2 years to find a publisher, so that's an interesting journey. And the next year, I think my publisher is sitting with me and saying, how are you going to sell the book? So that's why I apologize. I feel embarrassed, my picture on every single table. But when you write a book, you have to figure out how you pre-order. So that's why you have that. And during pandemic, I think what happened was I was writing the book, I'm speaking, and what I realized, I'm not like all my life as a woman leader, I was taught to fit in. So I went in, showed up, and it was all about content. Be the best you can be in the room, show up with content, make sure you do the best you can. And you never really think about, you know that other women will figure it out too. You don't really think about the society, the community, because you're so busy in having a family and the kids and their education and their school. You're so busy in your own world. During the pandemic, it was a great time for me to reflect because I was an empty nester. My kids went to, graduated from college or settled, and I'm thinking about what impact am I making? You hear about people dying from COVID, and then suddenly I realized that, oh my God, this could happen to me, and what am I leaving behind? And I tell you that one of the talks I was presenting, and the slide came up, 12% of women in machine learning. And it really hit home because the physical world was built by men, our founding fathers. The work environment is built, even the temperature in the offices are built for a male body temperature. I mean, if you really think about it, the world was built. And we are now building digital world really fast. All of you are engaging with consumers and building digital world really, really fast. How many women are really on this C-suite or the leadership role making a change? And that was scary, that we are not at the table. We don't have equality, we don't have parity. And so with that, I called a few of my friends who I had done business with in C-suite leadership. So we have CDO of FBI, Chevron, L'Oreal, Conair, and so on. And so we all got together and we said, let's come together and make the C-suite strong and then make sure that they can replicate. And we started this organization called WILDA, which I call it Women Leaders in Data and AI. And in June, like 6 months later, realized that we can't do it alone. So we brought men in. We said we need men who care about this cause, men who care about their daughters, because what we are building today is going to have an impact in 50 years. So we brought men who are senior leaders who care about being a part of changing this world. And how we do it by really creating circles where we all come together, peer-to-peer, make sure that you understand your C-suite leaders in a setting outside of work. So I launched that. So my world is around data and AI. I'm surrounded by Invilda, the book, and my career. So my goal would be to share my experiences with you today. And hopefully, if you're interested, please connect with me later to talk about Wilda or about anything which I share with you today. So I wanted to start with a basic definition of artificial intelligence. And I know there's some buzz. I was sitting in the bus and somebody was saying, what really is Web3? And what is really the definition? Are we really using the technology we talk about? So really, in simple terms, when anyone says artificial intelligence, it's really when a machine can mimic like a human. So if it can learn and problem solve. So how did we learn? When we were growing up, we learned it's a dog, a cat. It's a ball, it's a football, it's a basketball. So we learn by practicing, seeing. And that's what machines do. Machine will, we feed the data, labeled data or unlabeled data, and the machine starts learning the pattern. And machine will then give you the output. And that's what artificial intelligence is. We have kind of clubbed everything. We had the terminologies keep changing: business intelligence, analytics, data analytics, business intelligence. But really what we are saying when we say AI, we are saying anything to do with data scientist, data analyst, old business intelligence term, everything that encompasses, because data feeds the machines. So it's a component of artificial intelligence. So think about artificial intelligence when you're working in your world. Are you using data? Are you analyzing data? And is the data helping you solve a problem? And can you automate the prediction? Can you automate where the machine can actually give you results without human interference? So listen, I love this slide. It's been out since 2018, and it's an older slide. But I love this so much because it tells you, it makes a point. Listen, you could say that I'm in an industry which is not changing fast, or I'm in a company which is legacy company. But what really matters is, think about it. BMW was founded in 1916 and had a market cap of 56 billion. So these numbers are old. But Uber was founded in 2009 and had a more market cap. And if I came to you and I said, listen, I'm starting a company, or there will be a company which will own no automobile, no vehicle, and they are going to be the leading vehicle company, transportation company, you would laugh. And now we have Uber, we have Airbnb. They're breaking the business models. So these companies, what did they do? And I love giving examples from different industry, because you can learn so much from cross-industry. When you think about, you all are in retail and you want to learn from what Nordstrom is doing, or Target is doing, or Big Lots doing, or you're looking at retail. But if you go across the industry and see what other industries are doing, there's so much to learn from. So what I'm trying to, this really makes me think that companies who took advantage of data, companies who were ready to break the mold, and again, you could say that my C-suite doesn't care about, my C-suite is not ready to change. Are you ready to change? And that's the most important point, is that, are you ready to adopt? I mean, I love Zipline presentation. I don't know where they are, but I love that the vendor came up and actually shared what they're building. These are the entrepreneurs. Yesterday you saw the startup lab. You have access to these vendors and entrepreneurs who are breaking the rule and bending the rule and disrupting. You don't have to disrupt. You go out and find people who are doing it and partner with them. So I love this slide, and I just want to remind you that as a leader in the organization, did it? There it is. And and I think the 2020 was such an important year because it really made us remind that when the world changes, how we as human adopt. We were resilient. The technology and the business learned to work and operate in a new environment, and we actually did well. The businesses did well. I am also, which I forgot to mention, I'm also a CEO coach. I'm a partner in a firm called CEO Coaching International, where I coach about 7 to 11 CEOs on building high growth companies. And my CEOs were doing amazing, and they were technology companies, digital companies. And one of the companies I started with was very, very small. Within 3 years, I mean, I started with them in 2019. We saw this whole turmoil, and last year they sold for a huge number. And so the kind of growth they saw during the pandemic was incredible, incredible. So the question is, are you easy to adapt and change and launch quick enough to be able to create the growth? So you had companies who did well. You have companies who didn't do well, right? So what was the difference between the companies who quickly did well and companies who didn't do well? And what they say is that really understanding the Industry 4.0. World Economic Forum last year had this as the main topic, because what's happening is that the Industry 4.0 is changing, the technology is changing the way we live and work and operate. Think about it. Before pandemic, how we operated, we had like future of work. We never spoke about future work in 2019. We're talking about future work now, right? So Industry 4.0 is already here. Even though World Economic Forum was talking about it in 2019, 2020, it's already here. And that happened because the external forces pushed us in that direction. So it's so critical. I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. When I had my BlackBerry, the days when I had my BlackBerry, I loved it. I loved it. I would like not give up my BlackBerry for anything. And my son pushed me. She's like, "You're crazy, Mom. You have to move to Apple." And it was like probably 10 years back. But he forced me. So what will happen to the retailers? The younger generation is going to force you to change. You have to learn to adapt. I had a friend we were talking about metaverse yesterday. I had a friend who said, "My kids do homework with Oculus." Metaverse is here. That's how they operate. They play the games. You have to watch these kids and figure out where the industry, how the buying pattern is going to change. It's so critical to understand your consumer. So as I talk about Industry 4.0, what is it? What is Industry 4.0? It's 9 technology they primarily talk about. They say advanced robotics, additive manufacturing, augmented reality. Oh, I was in Long Island at the beach, and they had this art exhibit, and it's called Tela Art exhibit. And so you could hold the phone. I don't know how many of you have seen this. There's an art piece, and you hold the phone, and you can walk into it. So augmented reality, you walk into the art, and you can actually see you're walking in the art, as if like, and the art is all around you. It's beautiful. I was like, that was the first time I saw that. It's here. You know, Microsoft launched it with the healthcare, where they're training physicians or the students, clinical students, physicians, on augmented reality. So they don't have to really, before they go to surgery, they practice on augmented reality. How great is that? Mechanics in aeronautical engineering, this is being used today. Simulation, horizontal and vertical integration. We talk about integration. Somebody mentioned, I think, 75 sources. I think you were talking about it, 75 sources. I don't know. Somebody was here on the panel yesterday was talking about, you know, there are so many sources in the company. How do you integrate, right? Because do you have the right data? Yes, you have to start somewhere. Listen, we all, 30 years of experience, that hasn't changed. The diverse data, the siloed data sets, and trying to bring the data together and clean the data. Is the data clean? That's a problem we all are going to have. In your new technology, you're going to have that problem, right? Like, you're getting the data from open source, but is the data clean enough? Can I have the right accuracy? That's going to be a real problem. But that problem is not going to go. Does that mean that we don't start the journey? The industrial internet, cloud. Listen, cloud became huge, and that will help bring the whole big data together. Cybersecurity, big data and analytics. I mean, of course, cybersecurity is critical for. So those are the 9 technologies. So if anyone is talking to you about Industry 4.0, those are the 9 technology they're talking about. Just the evolution of technology. Just for 2 minutes, I want to kind of give you the history of technology evolution. When you talk about robotics and AI, we had robotics and AI in 1950s. Why did it not really, go full-fledged during that time? It didn't really take air in 1950s because there was not data. There was no learning. As I spoke earlier, machines learn from data. We didn't have the data. So we went into client servers and PC. We went into Web 1.0. So what was Web 1.0? It was decentralized. I created a web page. You created a web page. If I want to learn about your company, I go on the web page. It's consume the information. Independent, decentralized. We went into Web 2.0. What happened with Web 2.0? Google came in, consolidated the data. So we went from decentralized to centralized. And so think about Web 1.0, if somebody talks about it, it's decentralized. Web 2.0, somebody's talking about it, it's decentralized. Google's came in, they said, they centralized the data. So you can go to Google and find all the information. Web 3.0 is decentralizing again. Because open source is saying, let's make so listen, we had the whole open source community where saying, let's make our code open to everybody. Let's create the source which people can use and continue building on. And that led to Web 3.0, where we are saying that data should be owned by me. If I create an art, I want to sell it, I should own it. Blockchain talks about there is one block. If I do a transaction with you, it gets secured. And then the chain is created. And so there is less fraud because you have the secure data set where you know what the block is saying. So the code is generated. So the journey of an industry goes from decentralized to centralized to decentralized. Even when we are building technology, we say, okay, decentralized, everybody, finance, operations, sales is having their own data. Then you centralize it, you bring it to data lake, and then you decentralize it. You say, okay, now use it. Go use the data for what you need. So the transition is always about coming from decentralized, centralized, decentralized, and it's okay when you go through those waves. And so that's really Web 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Big data became really huge when Web 1.0, the Web 1.0 really created the big data wave. What is big data? Volume, velocity, and variety. When you had the data which was coming at a fast speed, right? YouTube, emails, Facebook, data was coming. 2007 was really a big year. 2007 had all these companies really coming up. Facebook, Uber, all became around that time. And big data became huge because the data was getting collected, and people were now using that data to create connection, create communities, exchange. That big data helped AI. The big data helped AI to better their models. And that's what the whole AI revolution is now. So somebody said, people are loosely using AI. Yes, they are. And it's okay. Because that's a journey people are getting on. So when you say loosely use AI, it's okay to use loosely AI. Because AI, I was talking to another CEO, and he was talking to me. He's like, my CIO does not think that. He comes from Google and eBay and has this advanced technology from Silicon Valley and does not think we are ready for AI. So I had a call with him, and I said, do you agree that AI is about machine learning? He said, yes. I said, machine learning can be about anything. He says, yes. I said, machine learning can be about just taking one model and applying it. He says, yes. Can we use regression model on this set of data? Oh, but I don't have big data, we have small data. Machine can learn from small data too. Yes. Can we at least do a prototype? He's like, yes. He's like, oh my God, you made it so simple. So he's like, can you please come with me to talk to this head of strategy, because he doesn't get it. I said, absolutely. We got on the call with the head of strategy. I'm like, how do you do it? Are you okay? One piece, it's a HR psychology, performance, human performance software. And I said, how about we take one piece of that, how you do it manually, and just use that data set and let it learn. Let it sit in the background. He's like, absolutely, you could do that. So something which they couldn't solve in 6 months because they couldn't really understand each other's language, having a simple conversation made sense to them. So really, can you jump in and take that journey? Can you start on that journey? So that's the question. Listen, I love talking to retail because I feel like you guys know, you care about your customers. You know that you have to understand the customer to sell your product. So it's not a hard sale to the retailers to make sure that you guys jump in. Just showing you that, listen, AI is getting involved in every industry. Every industry is using it. If you're not using it in your department, in your section, your silo, you're going to miss out. Can you take a baby step to continue on that journey? And there's some of you who are really advanced. How can you go to the next level? It's about growth. So again, this slide I thought was really relevant because it talks about Amazon is recruiting the most artificial intelligence specialists right now. And that's why Amazon did so well during pandemic. One click. I love that book. Can you make your technology so easy that as one click can help you buy the product? Why did Amazon, who was just a bookseller, to selling everything, to building infrastructures, right? How did they do the transition? Were they happy with one stage? Were they happy that I got started here and I'm happy being where I am? They continue evolving. And are you evolving within your groups? Are you thinking about how you're going to evolve and go to the next level? Amazon, Walmart, CVS, great examples, right? So they're spending, look at the number. Amazon's number to Albertson's number. I know there's somebody from Albertson or not, but a huge difference, right? Are you investing in people who understand the technology, who understand data science, who understand looking at the data? I had another really great story. I'll tell you a quick story. That Wilda, I love Wilda because I get to talk to all these women leaders who are amazing. And one of the women I was talking to, she said to me, she's like, I work in pharmaceutical industry. I was talking to the R&D group, and they said that we are doing drug development, and this is the data set. Can your team go out and build a model for us? And she's like, I looked at the data set, and I said, there's not enough data representing women. And so she went back and said, can I get more data? Because this is not enough data here. And they said, this is what we got. Can you please work with this? So she went out to the open sources, got extra data of the female data set to combine it, and the results were different. And the group was surprised, and they of course thanked her, and then they were like, this thing is on the website now because we actually created, the whole drug development got changed because she included. If you don't have diverse teams, listen, I stand for bringing women, but it is about diversity in age, gender, race, everything. So diversity is critical, especially in your data teams, because you want different perspective. And so I think that is critical, that you start that journey. You build diverse teams. Make sure that you bring different thoughts as you're doing your data journey. This is a great example. I teach this at Columbia. I teach this at any place I go because I love this Netflix story. Netflix really started, and when they started their journey, and they came in when Blockbuster was top of the game. Friday nights, I still remember Friday nights was the night when you go to Blockbuster, pick up a movie, bring some popcorn and candy, and come home. And Friday night is a movie night. You bring pizza and movie night. And Netflix comes out and says, you know what, I'm going to break the model. I'm going to come in and mail you DVD. And I'm going to change and disrupt the model. And were they going to succeed? Who knew? But what did they do? They actually created a Netflix prize. Their Cinemax was, in the previous slide, Cinematch was their key algorithm that would understand and predict what the customers want. So if you remember, you create a queue, they knew which product you wanted, they started understanding your behavior, they were collecting the data to understand what the customer wanted, and they then created a Netflix prize. They said, you know what, maybe we don't have the best engineers to create the accuracy. Accuracy is so critical. Is 80% good, 90% good enough? I don't know, right? So they were not happy with their accuracy. So what they did, they went out to the world. They said, we want the best brains. We're going to give a $1 million prize to the best brains. So what did they do? They didn't only depend on their people. They went out in the world and they said, we'll give you $1 million and you submit all your algorithm, which is the best accuracy, will get the prize. Think about how genius was that. They got all their algorithms, everybody's algorithms, and gave the best prize to the person who got the best accuracy. It was the AT&T lab scientist, got them a improved 10.6%, 10.06% ratings, and they continued working on their algorithm. So they focused on improvement. They focused on how can I be crazy about my customer and understand what my customer wants and make sure we're accurate about that. The more they're accurate, the better they're going to have to do development, right? So what happens in 2003 to 2004, Netflix takes off. By 2010, they're gone. Blockbuster is gone. Netflix took over. Netflix had originally gone to Blockbuster and said, buy me for $50 million. And they turned them down. They said, we will build it. I love that Dara's discussion, buy versus build. I have to tell you, Dara, your name comes in every panel. Every panel. So buy versus build. And they said, no, we're going to build it our own. Blockbuster said, we're going to build our own. And they couldn't because Netflix started and focused on building, started with that direction, started with that focus. And they continued. And they said, listen, they were in 2013, they were saying the goal is to become HBO faster than HBO can become us. They were already thinking about we are not just the rental company, we're the content creator. And how did they know that? Because they knew and they understood and studied their customer. The better you study your customer, you're in technology, if you're in digital, you're in marketing, your number one goal has to be understanding business and understanding customers. If you understand your customer and customer behavior, you can take the leap and constantly keep evolving. And that's the goal. What did they do? They launched Orange is the New Black. It was a hit series. They said we knew before we launching it, we knew that this would be a hit because they studied their customers. They knew that this would be a hit. They don't have to worry about whether this is going to be a hit or not because they understand. They studied it so well, now they're just looking for the result. And that's what having good algorithm, machine learning can help you. They became, and then of course everybody else followed. I want to also show you this. In my book, I talk about Power Canvas, which derives from Business Canvas. This is your business canvas. What you learn here is, what is my unique value proposition? Where can I, the red blocks are where can I change, create the disruption? Where, if you draw your business model and you say, where is my power coming from? Where do I have the data and where do I have the AI? And how can I create the change? They started with online sales and subscription. But then in 10 years, they added and changed and disrupted again themselves. They said, we're going to have the original content. We're going to have full series. You can watch it. And then they start creating the entire series and start creating the original content, right? So disrupting yourself is so important. Domino's did the same thing, understood their customers so well, looked at the data. So now when you call, they will be able to tell you what you want. They'll be able to, because they understand, they see the history. I love Harrah's case study, and this is another of my favorite case studies. They said, we are underdog, we don't care about what others are doing, we want to come in, and they were losing millions of, how much? They were $6 million in loss, and then they turned it around to over $200 million in profit within 3 years. And how did they do that? They said, we don't want to compete with other casinos who are building fountains or malls. That's not what we are in the business for. Our customers come to us. Our customers come to us for one thing, to play, to gamble. How can we create the slot machines easy for them to access? So they rearranged their floors so the consumer can come and enter and actually do what they want to do, which is play games. They created loyalty programs and made sure that the customer was happy. So if you really look at the companies who changed and shifted and created rapid growth, became an avid student of their customer, collecting their data, understanding, building algorithms, using technology to make sure they can address the market. So what is it all about? We're talking about AI, we're talking about machine learning, we're talking about deep learning, but what are we going to use this for? We're using it for one thing and only one thing, which is customers. We're using it because we want to engage our customer, make our customer experience better. We want them to be engaging with us, and we have technology now for that. We can personalize customer experience. We can prevent fraud. So those are the three really great use cases, right, for us to make sure that the customers are engaged. The change is accelerating, right? And especially with pandemic, it has become more and more. Customers are savvy. They're very savvy. My son's saying, Mom, don't worry about buying dishwasher, going to the store. Let me go online and do the research, and I'll get you the best washing machine. And I was like surprised. I'm like, really? Like, you've done a good job. Like, how do you know what my washing machine would be? Like, I did the study. I looked at the reviews. I know what features are the best features. So they're savvy and they're demanding. They want instant gratification. They want to be able to experience it and make a purchase. Product and trends life cycles are shortening. Things are changing so fast. Are you keeping up with that? The brick and mortar expansions are drying up. So it's really all about e-commerce. So the positive is that with the e-commerce, you can collect the data and can understand the behavior, right? I think I was talking to a few of the vendors, and they were talking about how you can collect the data of the footprint, of digital footprint, and get their addresses and go back and reach out to them, or collect the footprints of the digital audience and understand what they like. So there's so much more you can study, and especially in being in marketing, there's so much you can do that you could never do before. So there's a lot more advantages of being in. So what are some of the use cases which you all are probably using it, know of, or heard of? Smart shelves, of course, automated inventory intelligence. I'm going to touch upon that real quickly so that you have an idea. So some of our Wilda members are from L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Conair, and they use the technologies to make sure that they are addressing and they're staying up to date. Smart shelf, of course, you can see the inventory. I mean, it's really all about automated inventory intelligence. Can you see the inventory? Can you order the inventory? There is digital price displays. You can create it interactive. I mean, a friend of mine from El Salvador was visiting in New York, and he said, I went in McDonald's after such a long time. I can't believe the screens communicate with me. I don't even have to see a human being, and I can order. Yeah, you can. So the digital price displays and interact. You can engage the customer, right? So that's the goal, is that how can you engage your customer? Again, the AI for cosmetic, all the women here probably love that we can look at our lipstick and it can accurately tell us. L'Oreal and Estee Lauder have this technology, the Modi face you talk about. How can we create the omni experience? I think we all talk about that, is like, how do we do that? Diverse team is really important. If it was all men or all women, would that be enough to really understand how you're thinking about the product? I think it's important to diversify. What I say really is essential skills for the leaders today. Even though it says, so essential data skills for every leader. I say that technology leaders need to become business savvy, and business leaders need to become technology savvy. It's not enough anymore that you are good in just what you do. It's so important that you learn about the business, and it's so important if you're in business, learn about technology. You cannot live without one or the other. The future of the leadership is about learning to understand both and combining it in a way that you can execute. It's about communication. You'll see the leaders, C-suite leaders, who really, so recently I got a call, publicly traded company, large in the healthcare industry, and they called me and they said, we are looking for the successor. We have 3 EVPs, and we want you to come in and coach all the 3 because we are finding a successor for the CEO. And so they give me a briefing, and they say, this person has this person has this. So they give me a list of the skills, and they said, this one person is a CFO, great with numbers, understand business outcomes, but it's not a great communicator, can't inspire. I want you to help him become, they gave me this skill set, and they said, we want you to work with this person to inspire this person so that he can be a better communicator and help him. I have a second person who's very good with outcomes and everything, and managing the top line and stakeholders, but not great with people. Can you, how people development, can you this person's gotten here really because of the numbers and is lacking in people development. So it's about people. So they give me these profiles and they tell me what to do. And the number one things which really stand out is on the screen right now. It's about communication. Can you communicate? I mean, the example I gave you earlier, the CEO who said to me, I want to build AI and my CIO is saying we are not ready. It's about communication. Can you make it simple and easy for people to understand? Change is about, and we talk about this influence versus power versus influence. Data leader, you will find yourself in a situation where you have no power, and especially the data leaders. You don't have power because data is sitting in so many different directions. You don't have power. How do you influence? How do you influence to make sure that the leaders in your cross-functional teams are actually doing what you want them to do? Communication is really, really important. How do you prioritize? How do you align yourself with the business strategy? And how do you align data strategy to business strategy? And get data readiness. So there are 4-step process I talk in the book, and I'm going to kind of give you a little bit pieces of that. I could talk the whole day. This could be a whole workshop on this, but I'm going to give you some tips. Happy to talk to you further about this. But another really great, when I talk about leadership and I talk about data, the great example comes from Moneyball. I love that movie. I love the book. Talks about how you don't have to be the best of best. How can you understand what your business needs? Big loss doesn't have to be Neiman Marcus. Might be a bad example, but you don't want to be the high-end store. How do you understand where do I play and what can I be best at in the world I live in? So in the movie, very clearly, he looks at the data. He looks at the people in his team. How can I get the B player at this level to create a team which will win? And then goes out and wins. What is the process I can put together to create the performance? And that's really what it is when you're thinking about your team and execution. It's about really looking at the data that gives you the information that can give you the power to create the change. So can you actually align your initiative and align to the business strategy? Do you really understand what the business strategy is? It might not be customer experience this quarter or this year. What is it? Do you truly understand? And if you don't understand, instead of going to your manager, if your manager is too busy, go read the marketing material. What are they trying to do? You can go on your company website, look at your investor reports, and see what they're saying to the investors. It's very easy to understand where your company is going. And can you, as a leader, understand where your company is going? Can you speak that language to make sure that your leaders understand that? Do you have your priorities right? A lot of times you get stuck in another company I coach, and the CIO and his team, so tied up with day-to-day, so tied up with just putting off the fires. Do you really know where the important urgent is? Do you know where the important and not urgent is? So do you really understand what you're focusing on? I talk about, so I spent some time developing this data readiness framework, which really the 22 elements which talks about. And the very first thing which I talk about is having awareness. The leaders need to be self-aware. So it's really important that you are aware of where you are and acknowledge it. So organizational maturity is important. Are we mature enough to adopt or do deep learning? Maybe we are not ready for deep learning, but we can take baby steps and maybe create some machine learning. So it's really about learning where you are, having clear objective and data governance. Even though data governance projects struggle, and they struggle because there's so many players. So how do you create data governance where the same data dictionary, same definitions? How do you create internal competence? Do you even have the internal competence? Do you understand? Can you create the engagement and transformation? Understanding and recognizing your data journey, knowing that where is my power quadrant? You could be in the power quadrant where you are saying, I'm an optimizer. Right now, I need to focus on optimizing. How can I use my data and my knowledge to optimize, cut costs, increase efficiency, and I can do that. Technology does not have to be just the cost center. Technology can create the ROI. Technology can be a profit center because they focus on understanding how to cut cost. You have the data, you can figure out where the deficiencies are. Are you the innovator, emphasizing on R&D? Are you an extender? You're really trying to get to the next market. Or you're a multiplier. You're ready to disrupt. You don't have to disrupt as an industry. You can disrupt in your own function. You can empower your team and inspire your team to disrupt. So I cannot emphasize enough. I have to tell you, when I'm coaching senior leaders, the financial impact has to be number one. Even though you fill out financial impact when you start your project, a lot of time your teams don't remember that or acknowledge that. Financial impact is key. Learning about what you're doing. Another company I coach, the tech team comes on the thing and they say, we're building this amazing AI, the sales team doesn't sell it. And I said, do you know what you're building? Have you ever done the ROI on what impact it's going to have on the customer? I was like, oh, never thought about that. But they're so excited about it because they're engineers. That's what they do. They enjoy building technology and working with new technology, right? Really educating them to say, do you understand the financial impact, operational efficiency, and do you have the strategic alignment? Do you have the data governance, knowing who owns the data? Is it data accessible? And is it secure? And quality, of course, you have to remember, is the data clean? Can you engage and can you measure? Are you engaging? Usage, literacy, culture. Number one thing I would say is it scalable? What you're building, can you repeat it and create scalability? You want to make sure what you build is not sitting on the shelf. What you're building, people are using it. So if you're building something, you want to focus on scalability. Power zone, understand what problem are you solving? What is the potential value? And do you have the data and the clean data? So really think about what your power zone looks like. Flywheel is the best book Jim Collins wrote. If you haven't read Flywheel, I would highly recommend buy Jim Collins' book and read Flywheel, because the AI flywheel or your data flywheel starts the journey of the flywheel. How do you create small success and replicate it to create the scale? It's all about scale. If you build something, if you cannot scale it, it's not good enough. It's going to die eventually. So whatever you're building, can you create this flywheel around that? And I spoke about the book. I can use any help because my publishers are pushing me. So if you can pre-order, that'll be great. You want to learn about creating a change and be a part of creating the impact and be a part of a senior leader society, I would say, please reach out. There's a QR code. You can apply online. Dara is here. I'm here. Please talk to us about women leaders in data and AI. We call it WILDA. And that's LinkedIn is the best way to get in touch with me. I'm going to stop here and ask you guys if there's any questions.